How did young ladies in the Three Kingdoms period flirt with those they admired? In Jiangdong, there was a young and talented man. He came from a noble family, tall and imposing, full of heroic spirit, with an exceptionally handsome appearance. No matter who man, woman, young, or old, when they saw him, they couldn't believe that such a graceful young man existed in this chaotic world. He was the most underestimated scholar of Eastern Wu, Zhou Gongjin. Zhou Yu was skilled in both literature and martial arts, and he was also proficient in music. If anyone played a wrong note, even if he was drunk, he would know. At the time, it was said that music lovers understood Zhou Lang's mastery. The many young women infatuated with Zhou Yu would deliberately make mistakes while playing music, just to make Zhou Yu turn his head and look at them. Yet, later generations only remember Zhuge Liang angering Zhou Yu 3 times, and say he was narrow-minded. But was the historical Zhou Yu really that bad? In this video, we will follow the timeline and understand the life of Zhou Yu, the most charming figure of the Three Kingdoms. Zhou Yu, courtesy name Gongjin, was born in Lujiang, now in Anhui Province. He was born in 175 AD and passed away in 10 AD. Zhou Yu died at the young age of 36. It is often said that since ancient times, great talents face many hardships, and stubborn people rarely face difficulties. But Zhou Yu was an exception. He was a well-known young talent in Jiangdong. Not only was he tall and strong, but also handsome. And he came from a prestigious family. The records state that Zhou Yu was generous, ambitious, and possessed extraordinary talent. He excelled in both culture and combat. He had great talent and insight. He was praised as a hero among men, a gallant and charismatic gentleman from Jiangdong. Zhou Yu came from a prominent family. His great-uncle Zhou Jing and his uncle Zhou Zhang both held the prestigious title of Grand Commandant during the Han Dynasty. His father, Zhou Yi, served as prefect of Luye. From birth, Zhou Yu had grand ambitions. In 189 AD, when Sun Jian moved his family to Zhou Yu's neighborhood while resisting Dong Zhuo, Sun Jian's eldest son, Sun Si, was the same age as Zhou Yu. Both were young men with great ambitions. They shared similar interests and became fast friends. Their relationship was very close. Zhou Yu even let Sun Si live in part of his home. He often provided financial assistance to Sun Si. The close relationship between Zhou Yu and Sun Si also helped advance the Sun clan's relations with the gentry. After Sun Jian's death, Sun Si decided to inherit his father's legacy. He aimed to reclaim Jiangdong and establish his own empire. In the year 195 AD, with no money and only 1,000 men, Sun Si entered Liyang, preparing to cross the Yangtze River. He then wrote a letter to Zhou Yu. At the time, Zhou Yu happened to be visiting his uncle Zhou Shang, who was serving as governor of Danyang. Upon receiving the news, Zhou Yu immediately brought troops and provisions to support Sun Si. One was a brilliant strategist. The other was a brave warrior. Soon, Zhou Yu followed Sun Si in defeating Hengjiang, then led their army across the river. They attacked Moling, and then conquered Hushun, moving into Q, forcing Liu Yao to flee. Sun Si's forces quickly grew to tens of thousands. Once the situation was stabilized, Zhou Yu led his troops back to defend Danyang. Not long after, Yuan Shu sent his cousin Yuan Yin to replace Zhou Shang as governor of Danyang. Zhou Yu then followed Zhou Shang to Shaochen. In the year 198 AD, Yuan Shu, impressed by Zhou Yu's talent, wanted to offer Zhou Yu a position to serve under him. But Zhou Yu deeply despised Yuan Shu's short-sightedness. So he cleverly devised a plan to get Yuan Shu to agree to let him return to Jiangdong. While serving as magistrate of Jukao, Zhou Yu met another important figure, Lu Su. The two formed an unbreakable friendship. Together, they returned to Wu Commandery from Jukao. When Sun Si learned of Zhou Yu's return, he personally went out to greet him. Not only did he give Zhou Yu troops, he also gifted him a military band. He built a residence for Zhou Yu. The rewards were so generous that no one could compare. That year, Zhou Yu was 24 years old. Everyone in Wu Commandery called him Zhou Langyang Master Zhou. In the year 199 AD, Sun Si planned to attack Jingju. He appointed Zhou Yu as general of the guards and governor of Jiangxia. Zhou Yu joined the campaign. Sun Si, leading Zhou Yu and others, captured Wancheng. They seized the families of Yuan Shu's subordinate Liu Zan, along with their relatives. Among them were two daughters of Qiao Gong, both of extraordinary beauty. Sun Si married Da Qiao, while Zhou Yu married Zi Qiao. From then on, their bond grew even closer. After pacifying Yu Zhang, Zhou Yu was left behind to defend Baqiu. However, just as everything seemed to be advancing favorably for Jiangdong, Sun Si was fatally injured. In the year 100 AD, on his deathbed, Sun Si entrusted military and state affairs to Sun Quan. At the time, Sun Quan was still young when he took command of Jiangdong. He only controlled Kueiji and Wu commanderies, as well as Danyang, Yuzhang, and Luling. Even the remote and dangerous areas had not yet been fully conquered. However, many of the heroes and elites from those regions established strong, loyal ties with the Sun family. In this critical moment of peril, Zhou Yu arrived from afar with his troops for mourning. He stayed by Sun Quan's side in Wu Commandery. Zhou Yu was appointed general of the guard, and, along with Chief Clerk Zhang Zhao, jointly handled military and state affairs. He wholeheartedly supported and was devoted to Sun Quan. Although at that time Sun Quan was only a general, Zhou Yu treated him with the respect owed to a sovereign. He set an example to encourage others to support Sun Quan. He also selflessly recommended Lu Su, another talented statesman, to Sun Quan. This shows that Zhou Yu was not a narrow-minded person. In the year 102 AD, after Cao Cao defeated Yuan Shao at the Battle of Guandu, he ordered Sun Quan to send tribute to the imperial court. Sun Quan convened his ministers for a discussion, but they were unable to make a decision. At Zhou Yu's insistence, Eastern Wu refused to submit to Cao Cao. As a result, Sun Quan frequently rewarded Zhou Yu. Over the course of a year, Zhou Yu was gifted over 100 sets of clothing. No one in Jiangdong could compare. Zhou Yu remained steadfastly loyal to the Sun family. According to the records of Jiang Biao, Cao Cao once sent the eloquent Zhang Gan to persuade Zhou Yu to serve him. However, Zhou Yu firmly refused. This increased the admiration that people had for Zhou Yu. In the year 106 AD, the governor of Jiangxia, Huangzu, sent his general Deng Long to attack Chaisang. Zhou Yu led his troops in a counterattack, capturing Deng Long and recommending a fierce warrior, Gan Ning, to serve Jiangdong. Later, Sun Quan appointed Zhou Yu as Grand Commander to conquer Jiangxia. The two armies engaged in a fierce naval battle. The battle ended with the Eastern Wu army successfully capturing Xiaku and killing Huangzu. This victory paved the way for Sun Quan's conquest of Jingju. In the year 108 AD, Cao Cao led his army south and occupied Jingju. advancing towards eastern Wu. As the enemy approached, Sun Quan initially wanted to confront Cao Cao. However, Zhang Zhao, the leader of the pro-surrender faction, argued that the disparity in power between the two forces was too great, and advised surrendering to Cao Cao. With public opinion in the court overwhelmingly favoring surrender, Lu Su advised Sun Quan to recall Zhou Yu from Poyang. After Zhou Yu returned, he analyzed the situation from political, military, and economic perspectives. He refuted the reasons given by the pro-surrender faction. Then, he pointed out the 4 major mistakes Cao Cao made in his military campaign. He analyzed the key factors for victory or defeat in the battle. In the end, Sun Quan made up his mind, drew his sword, and chopped off the corner of a table, appointing Zhou Yu as the chief commander, and Cheng Piu as his deputy, determined to engage Cao Cao in a decisive battle. The allied forces of Sun Quan and Liu Bei met Cao Cao's army at Red Cliff. At that time, a plague had broken out in Cao Cao's army. Moreover, the newly incorporated naval forces from Jingzhou struggled to coordinate with the existing forces. Morale was low. As soon as the battle began, Zhou Yu's navy defeated Cao Cao's forces. Cao Cao had no choice but to combine his navy and land forces, anchoring his ships along the northern shore of Wulin. Meanwhile, Zhou Yu anchored his fleet on the southern shore of Red Cliff, confronting Cao Cao across the Yangtze River. Since the northern soldiers were unaccustomed to traveling by ship, Cao Cao ordered the ships to be lashed together, bow to stern, so the troops and horses could move about as if they were on land. Zhou Yu then adopted General Huang Gai's strategy of a fire attack. Huang Gai led 10 small fire ships loaded with hay, pretending to surrender. They sailed toward the northern shore. When they were 2 miles from Cao Cao's camp, they set the ships on fire. Using the wind, the fire ships charged toward Cao Cao's fleet. At that time, the southeast wind was blowing strongly, and the flames were fierce. The fire spread to Cao Cao's land camps as well. In an instant, thick smoke and flames covered the sky. Countless of Cao Cao's troops and horses were either burned or drowned. Cao Cao suffered a great defeat, and he had no choice but to retreat north. The victory at the Battle of Red Cliff not only solidified the Sun family's control over Jiangdong, but it also spared Liu Bei from the threat posed by Cao Cao. Zhou Yu's fame spread across the land. After the Battle of Red Cliff, Zhou Yu advanced to take non-commandery with Cheng Piu, and faced off against Cao Cao's general, Cao Ren, across the river. Zhou Yu first sent Gan Ning to seize Yiling. Cao Ren dispatched part of his forces to surround Gan Ning. At Lu Meng's suggestion, Zhou Yu left Lingtong to defend the rear, and personally led reinforcements to Yiling. He dealt a crushing blow to Cao Ren's forces beneath the city, shocking the entire region. However, just as Zhou Yu was personally leading the charge on horseback, he was struck in the right side by an arrow. He had to return to camp to recuperate. When Cao Ren heard of this, he personally led his troops to attack the Wu forces. However, Zhou Yu rose up energetically. He inspired the soldiers to bravely fight the enemy, successfully driving Cao Ren back. After a year of bitter fighting, Cao Ren abandoned the city and fled. Sun Quan then appointed Zhou Yu as general of the right and governor of non-commandery, stationing his troops in Jiangling. In the year to 10 AD, Sun Quan approved Zhou Yu's strategy for a campaign to conquer Yi province. However, on his way back to Jiangling, Zhou Yu fell ill. He tragically passed away at the age of only 36. On his deathbed, Zhou Yu advised Sun Quan to guard against both Cao Cao and Liu Bei, and recommended Lu Su to succeed him. When Sun Quan learned of Zhou Yu's death, he personally donned mourning clothes and held a funeral for him. If Zhou Yu had not died young, or if Sun Quan had heeded Zhou Yu's advice to imprison Liu Bei, then perhaps there would have been no place for Liu Bei in Yi province or even the entire Three Kingdoms. As one of the main contributors to Eastern Wu's power, Zhou Yu assisted the Sun family in expanding their rule over Jiangdong, establishing governance. He dealt a devastating defeat to Cao Cao at the Battle of Red Cliff, proposing a plan to conquer Jingzhou for Eastern Wu. He also suggested forming alliances with Zhonglu and Ma Chao, using Xiangyang as a base, to gradually weaken Cao Cao's northern territories. A man of both literary and military talents, with grand vision. Had Zhou Yu lived, the fate of the empire might have been very different. Some emperors didn't like attending court, but loved to travel. Throughout history, there were emperors who disliked staying in their palaces. They just wanted to explore the vast lands they ruled. Sometimes they even died on the road, leaving behind countless strange stories and unsolved mysteries. So, which emperors in history loved to travel? Were they doing it for state affairs or simply for pleasure? In this video, let's dive into the stories of the traveling emperors of Chinese history. The first is Qin Shi Huang, Ying Zhang. Into 21 BC, Qin Shi Huang unified China. He divided the empire into 36 commanderies, standardized the axle lengths of carts, and unified the script. He collected all the weapons in the empire and cast 12 bronze statues. He proclaimed himself to have surpassed the 3 sovereigns, and his achievements surpassed the 5 emperors. Thus, he called himself the first emperor. In 219 BC, he made an eastern tour to Maoqi. He conquered Kashiji. He summoned scholars from Che and Lu to discuss offering sacrifices at Mount Tai. Mount Tai is the leader of the 5 sacred mountains, and offering sacrifices there was the highest honor for an emperor. However, due to the passage of time, the scholars at that time no longer knew the specific procedures and rituals. As a result, they argued endlessly over how to conduct the ceremony. In frustration, Qin Shi Huang dismissed them all and conducted his own grand sacrificial ceremony. He carved his achievements into stone at Mount Tai. At that time, there was an extraordinary man named Sushai. The court records spoke of 3 immortal islands in the sea, inhabited by immortals. So, Qin Shi Huang sent Sushai with thousands of boys and girls to find them. However, Sushai never returned, and there was no news from him, making it one of the unsolved mysteries in Chinese history. The next year, Qin Shi Huang went on another eastern tour. While passing through Balangsha, he was attacked. The assassin escaped without a trace. The attacker was a noble from the kingdom of Han, who later became one of the 3 heroes of the early Han dynasty, Zhang Liang. Not long after, a meteorite fell from the sky. Someone carved 7 characters on it. The emperor will die, and his land will be divided. Qin Shi Huang was furious. He had all the people in the surrounding area executed. Into 10 BC, Qin Shi Huang embarked on his final tour. On the advice of Chancellor Li Si, he took his youngest son, Hu Hai, with him. While passing through Shakyu, Qin Shi Huang died at the age of 50. Li Si and Zhao Gao secretly installed Hu Hai as the emperor. 3 years later, the Qin dynasty fell. The second emperor was Emperor Yang of Suai, Yang Guang. In 581 AD, the Sizai dynasty conquered the southern Chen, unifying China, ending over 300 years of division. At the age of 23, the Prince of Jin, Yang Guang, entered the southern dynasty for the first time with the Suai army. He was mesmerized by the prosperity of Jiangnan. It was said that the consort of the last ruler of the southern Chen, Zhang Lihua, was incredibly beautiful. Yang Guang wanted to take her into his palace, but Zhang Lihua firmly rejected his advances. Angered and humiliated, Yang Guang had her executed, blaming her beauty for causing disaster. Thus, a beautiful woman met a tragic end. After the Sizai conquered the southern Chen, due to harsh laws, rebellions broke out across Jiangnan. Suai Emperor Wen sent Yang Guang to govern Jiangdu, which is today's Yangzhou. From that point on, Yang Guang developed an unbreakable bond with the city of Jiangdu. After Yang Guang ascended the throne, he ordered the construction of the Grand Canal to connect the north and the south. Later generations would call it the Beijing-Hangzhou Grand Canal, also known as the Suai-Tong Grand Canal. The opening of the Grand Canal had a profound impact on Chinese history. It not only enhanced communication and exchange between north and south, but also strengthened the unity of the central government. Along both sides of the canal, many commercial hubs emerged. During the Suzai dynasty, Jiangdu was the most prosperous of these canal cities. During Yang Guang's reign, he made 3 tours to Yangzhou, each time bringing a large entourage of royal family members and nobles, civil and military officials, along with the accompanying palace maids and eunuchs. The number of people reached 100,000 to 200,000. The fleet was vast, stretching more than 200 li, about 100 kilometers. The dragon boat that Yang Guang traveled on had 4 decks, was 40 to 50 feet high, and 200 feet long. It was decorated with gold and jade, making it essentially a mobile palace. Besides this, Yang Guang also made a tour to the northern frontier. He traveled to Zhuo Commandery 3 times, and at every stop, he built temporary palaces for leisure and enjoyment. Although these travels had some political purposes, they were primarily to satisfy Yang Guang's excessive indulgence. After his failure in the 3rd campaign against Gogor Yao, the people could no longer tolerate Yang Guang's extravagance. Rebellions broke out everywhere, and soon the flames of war engulfed the entire country. Yang Guang left Luoyang, fleeing south to Yangzhou once again. He planned to stay in Jiangnan for a long time, but in 618 AD, a mutiny broke out in Jiangdu, and the rebels swore to kill Yang Guang. Shortly afterward, the Suvai dynasty fell. The 3rd emperor is Zhu Haozhou of the Ming dynasty, the most carefree emperor of the Ming dynasty. This man is famous in history for neglecting his duties. He refused to stay in the palace and preferred living like a common prince. He didn't enjoy attending court, but loved fighting battles. He wanted to sweep through the northern frontier, just like his ancestor, Emperor Yongle. But his ministers feared that, like his great-grandfather Emperor Yingzong, he might be captured by the Mongols. It was fine for him to have fun inside the palace, but if something happened to him outside, what could they do? Despite their concerns, Zhu Haozhou secretly sneaked out of the frontier. But the guards at the border refused to open the gate for the emperor. No matter how much he threatened or persuaded, it was no use. Only when the ministers arrived did they bring Zhu Haozhou back. A few months later, Zhu Haozhou sneaked out again, and this time he succeeded. He even fought a battle with a Tatar prince. When he returned to Beijing, he rewarded himself for his military merits, naming himself the Grand General of Might and Valor and Duke Protector of the State with an annual salary of 5,000 dong. He even ordered the 6 ministries to build him an official residence and distribute rewards. Not long after, Zhu Haozhou went on another tour beyond the border, treating his role as emperor as a part-time job, completely immersed in his role as the Grand General of Might and Valor. One time, during his travels in Shaanxi, Zhu Haozhou met a Singer who instantly fell in love with him. Wanting to become the wife of the Grand General of Might and Valor, this Singer was Liu Liangnu. Those around Zhu Haozhou respectfully referred to her as Lady Liu. The legendary character Li Fengji was based on Liu Liangnu. In 1519 AD, Zhu Haozhou received word that Prince Ning, Zhu Chenhao, had rebelled in Jiangxi. Zhu Haozhou eagerly prepared to personally lead the campaign against him. But then he received news that the rebellion had already been crushed by Wang Yongming. Zhu Haozhou deliberately concealed this second piece of news, using the pretext of personally leading the campaign to head south. But Zhu Haozhou had no idea that this would be a journey of death. As Zhu Haozhou traveled south, chaos erupted everywhere along the way. His favored officials abused their power, acting arrogantly, causing widespread public outrage, since the rebellion had already been quelled. In order to let the emperor have his fun, his favored officials actually suggested to Wang Yongning to release Prince Ning again and let him cause trouble once more. Wang Yongning found this both ridiculous and frustrating, so he handed over Prince Ning to the eunuch Zhang Yang and withdrew from the situation. In 1520 AD, Zhu Jiao arrived in Nanjing to formally accept his victory. He first released Prince Ning from his cage, then had him captured again to claim the credit for himself. Satisfied, Zhu Jiao returned to Beijing. However, on his way back to Beijing, Zhu Jiao suddenly fell into the water, and from that point on, he never recovered. 6 months later, Zhu Jiao died. At the age of 31, the fourth emperor is the Qianlong Emperor, Hongli, also known as Emperor Gaozong of the Qing dynasty. When Qianlong ascended the throne, he inherited the strong foundation built by his predecessors, Kangxi and Yangzheng. The nation entered a golden age of prosperity, with economic growth and abundant resources. Jiangnan, as a major tax base, was the economic lifeline of the Qing dynasty. Thus, it received special attention from both Kangxi and Qianlong. Kangxi made 6 southern tour to Jiangnan to win over the local officials and inspect the water management projects. Qianlong also sought to emulate his grandfather, Kangxi, by making 6 southern tour to inspect the local situation. Additionally, he wanted to enjoy the beauty and prosperity of Jiangnan. From 1751 to 1784, Qianlong made 6 southern tour to Jiangnan. He also made several eastern and western tour, visiting famous scenic spots across the land, and leaving behind numerous strange tales. There is a rumor that Qianlong was actually the son of the Chen family from Haining, and he used the southern tour as an excuse to visit his relatives, although this is recorded in unofficial history. However, it is indeed true that during his southern tour, Qianlong often stayed at the residence of the Chen family in Haining. In fact, the Chen family of Haining was one of the most renowned and prominent families in Jiangnan, claiming the title of one family with 3 grand counselors and 6 ministers of the 6 ministries. In order to win over the Jiangnan officials, Qianlong naturally could not ignore the Chen family of Haining. In operatic portrayals, Qianlong is shown having countless romantic encounters during his southern tour. But in reality, Qianlong did not encounter any romantic affairs during his tour. Instead, he lost 2 of his empresses. Qianlong's first 2 empresses. One passed away during his eastern tour, and the other broke with Qianlong during his southern tour. The reasons for this are subject to much speculation. Some say that Empress Nara opposed Qianlong's offering of sacrifices. Others say she opposed the emperor promoting the noble consort to imperial noble consort, which led to her angrily cutting her hair and breaking with him. After this incident, Qianlong never appointed another empress, although the original intention of Qianlong's tour was for political purposes, and not merely for personal pleasure. Each tour consumed enormous amounts of manpower and resources, draining the national treasury. Officials along the way sought every opportunity to show off their wealth and abilities in front of the emperor. Although Qianlong repeatedly warned local officials not to disturb the people, officials at all levels turned a blind eye to this. This resulted in severe extravagance and waste. In his later years, Qianlong lamented, "My 6th tour to Jiangnan have all exhausted the people and drained resources. Chisel the brain, knock out the teeth, clean the ears." The real Cheng Yaojin in history was not the reckless man wielding 3 axes. He was of noble birth, both wise and courageous, and his life could be considered nearly perfect. But he has been misunderstood for over 1,000 years. In this video, let's get to know the real Cheng Yaojin from history. Cheng Yaojin, also known as Cheng Jiji, was from Dongge, Jizhou. His father, Chenglu, rose to the rank of Grand Judge of Jizhou. As a legitimate son of an official family, Chen Yaojin was brave from a young age. He was skilled in horsemanship. At the end of the Suzai dynasty, the country was in chaos. Chen Yaojin raised hundreds of militia to defend his hometown. Later, he led his men to join Li Mi and became part of the Wagging army. He earned Li Mi's deep trust. In 618 AD, Li Mi and Wang Shikong engaged in a major battle at Mang Mountain. Chen Yaojin camped with Li Mi at Wang Mountain, while Shan Zhongshin camped to the north of Yinshi. When Wang Shikong launched a surprise attack on Shan Zhongshin, Li Mi sent Pei Xingyan and Chen Yaojin with troops to assist. Unexpectedly, Pei Xingyan was shot by Liu Shai. Chen Yaojin single-handedly charged into the enemy lines and rescued Pei Xingyan. However, he was pierced by a spear from the pursuing enemy. For an ordinary person, such a serious injury would have caused them to fall immediately. But Chen Yaojin was no ordinary person. He not only turned around and broke the enemy's weapon, but also killed the pursuers. He then carried Pei Xingyan back to the main camp at Mang Mountain. Chen Yaojin's display of bravery and skill in this battle greatly impressed Wang Shikong. Such a fierce general was rare to see. Wang Shikong secretly resolved to recruit him at all costs. At this time, Li Mi had just defeated Yuan Huaji and became overly arrogant. He didn't take Wang Shikong seriously at all. Although he suffered a minor defeat, he remained overly confident, even neglecting to build fortifications. The next morning, Wang Shikong, who had been lying in wait at Mang Mountain, launched a sudden attack. Li Mi was caught off guard and fled with his remaining troops, seeking refuge with the Tang army. Chen Yaojin and Qin Shubao, however, temporarily took refuge with Wang Shikong. Wang Shikong treated Chen Yaojin and the others with courtesy. But Chen Yaojin believed Wang Shikong to be narrow-minded and incapable of achieving great things. He secretly discussed with Qin Shubao their plan to join the Tang army. During the battle between Wang Shikong and the Tang army at Juk, Chen Yaojin and Qin Shubao switched sides in the midst of battle. On the battlefield, they led dozens of their followers and defected to the Tang army. They were accepted into the ranks of Prince Qin, Li Shimin. Li Shimin had long heard of Chen Yaojin's great reputation and appointed him as a military commander in the Prince of Qin's mansion. Chen Yaojin fought valiantly, always leading from the front in every battle. He defeated Song Jinggang, Dou Zhandi, and Wang Shikong, and was rewarded for his service by being granted the title of Duke of Su. As the Tang dynasty unified the realm and subdued all its rivals, the conflict between Crown Prince Li Jiancheng and Prince Qin, Li Shimin, became increasingly intense. As a trusted lieutenant of Li Shimin, Chen Yaojin also became a target of the Crown Prince. According to the Zizi Tongjian historical records, Li Jiancheng manipulated things behind the scenes and had Chen Yaojin reassigned to serve as governor of Kangzhou. Chen Yaojin was determined to stay, refusing to accept the reassignment. He warned Li Shimin, saying, "Now, my lord, all your wings have been clipped. How will you protect yourself? I swear I will not leave you. My lord, you must prepare early." Sure enough, soon after, the Zhuanwu Gate incident erupted. Chen Yaojin followed Li Shimin in killing Crown Prince Li Jiancheng and Prince Chen, Li Yuanji. Afterward, Chen Yaojin was appointed Taizhi Yuweilu and promoted to Yue General. He was granted 700 households as fiefdom. When Li Shimin ascended the throne, Chen Yaojin, as a trusted confidant, rose quickly in rank. He even became in-laws with Li Shimin. Cheng's fourth son, Cheng Chuliang, married Li Shimin's daughter, Princess King. In the year 643, Li Shimin ordered portraits of 20 for meritorious officials to be painted in life-size proportions. Cheng Yaojin was listed among the 24 heroes of the Lingyan Pavilion. Ranked 19th. Cheng Yaojin was not merely a reckless warrior. On the contrary, he possessed sharp political insight. After Li Shimin passed away, Cheng Yaojin escorted Crown Prince Li Zi back to the capital to ascend the throne, ensuring a smooth transition of power for the Tang dynasty. However, as Empress Wu Zixin rose to power, Cheng Yaojin's fate took a sharp turn for the worse. Li Zi wanted to depose Empress Wang and replace her with Wu Zhao as empress, but faced opposition from old officials like Chancellor Zhongsun Wuji. We don't know what role Cheng Yaojin played in this struggle over deposing the empress, but judging from the outcome, it is evident that both Li Zi and Wu Zixin bore a grudge against him. In the year 656, at the age of 68, Cheng Yaojin was sent to campaign against the Western Turkic Khaganate. Commander Wang Wendu claimed to have secret orders from the emperor and took control of the command. The army's overall commander, Su Dingfang, was very displeased, urging Cheng Yaojin to arrest Wang Wendu and clarify the matter with the imperial court. But the battle-hardened Cheng Yaojin shook his head, allowing Wang Wendu to continue in command. When the Tang army reached Hengdu Fortress, the enemy surrendered. Wang Wendu then incited Cheng Yaojin to massacre the city. Despite Su Dingfang's opposition, Cheng Yaojin ordered the slaughter of all the Hu people in the city. Upon his return to the capital, Cheng Yaojin was held accountable and was stripped of all his official titles. He was reassigned as the governor of Qizhou. In order to protect himself, Cheng Yaojin actively requested to retire. This allowed him to enjoy a peaceful end to his life. In the year 665, Cheng Yaojin passed away at his home in Chang'an. At the age of 77, he was buried alongside Li Shimin at Zhaoling. He was posthumously titled Duke Xian. At dawn on June 4th of the 9th year of the Wu era, at the gates of the Taiji Palace, Li Shimin once again mounted his warhorse, preparing for the final battle against his enemies. But this time, his enemies were his own brothers. In this fateful showdown, Li Shimin led 800 of his personal troops. With the might of a warlord, he shot down his elder brother Li Jianqing and his younger brother Li Yuanji. He then forced his father, Li Yuan, to abdicate. As the victor, the bloody palace coup he meticulously planned was ultimately portrayed as a hastily executed act due to an ominous shift in the stars. So why was this seemingly ruthless and cold-hearted Li Shimin hailed as one of history's greatest emperors? What was the true purpose behind Li Shimin's coup at Zhuanwu Gate? In this episode, let's follow the chronological sequence to explore the legendary life of Li Shimin. Li Shimin's life can generally be divided into 4 stages. The first stage, from his birth to age 18, covers his youth and formative years. From 18 to 20, he followed his father, Li Yuan, in raising an army against the Xizai dynasty in Jinyang. From age 20 to 28, he spent conquering territories for the Tang dynasty. From 28 to 51, he orchestrated the Zhuanwu Gate incident, ascended to the throne, and began the Zhenguan era of peace and prosperity. Let's now step into the world of Li Shimin. Li Shimin was born at the Li family's private estate in Wugang. From a young age, he was very intelligent and perceptive. He always had unique insights into problems. Sometimes, his ability to analyze issues was deeper than adults. When it came to critical matters, his decisions were firm and resolute, and he was not one to fuss over minor details. Everyone at the time believed that this young man had boundless potential. At the age of 17, when Emperor Yang of the Sui dynasty was surrounded by the Turks at Yanmen, Li Shimin suggested organizing a rescue mission. Before the army could set out, Li Shimin proposed that the commander bring many banners and drums to set up a false camp. When the Turks saw the assembled rescue force, they would flee without a fight. Events unfolded just as Li Shimin predicted. A year later, at 18, Li Shimin followed his father to Taiyuan. Breaking through a siege by rebels, he infiltrated their ranks and crushed their army, rescuing Li Yuan from within the enemy's camp. With this, Li Shimin achieved a great victory. He began his second life stage, becoming a young war hero who followed his father in raising an army in Jinye. The Sui dynasty was collapsing, and uprisings were erupting across the land. At 19, Li Shimin recognized that the Sui dynasty's fall was inevitable. Thus, he secretly plotted to start a rebellion, often humbled himself to befriend heroes and talented individuals, and he urged his father to raise an army against the Sui dynasty. Thus, father and son raised their army in Jinye. Li Shimin led from the front and captured Zi. Li Yuan appointed him as the Grand Commander of the Right Army. Upon reaching head-on, heroes from all over Guangzhou rushed to join the rebel army. With Li Yuan's permission, Li Shimin led the front army across the Yellow River. First, he pacified Weibai. Then he captured Daxingcheng. Throughout the journey, the military orders were strict, and not a single civilian was harmed. After occupying Chang'an, Li Yuan installed Emperor Yang's grandson, Daiwang Yangyu, as the new emperor. Li Yuan himself became chancellor. In 618 AD, Emperor Yang of Sui was overthrown by Li Yuan. Li Yuan changed the state's name to Tang. At 20 years old, Li Shimin was promoted to Prince of Qin. This marked the beginning of the third stage of his life, conquering lands for the Tang dynasty. In the next 7 years, Li Shimin led his troops to defeat Zhurengao and Song Jinggang. He later defeated Wang Shikong at Luyang and captured Dou Zhandi alive. After suppressing Dou Zhandi, he quelled Liu Haida's rebellion. When the Turks invaded the borders, he personally led 100 cavalrymen to negotiate with the Turkic leader. In the end, the Turks withdrew after forming an alliance. For his merits, he was promoted to Zhongshu Ling. Thus, peace was restored across the land. However, as Li Shimin continued to achieve military successes, his prestige grew. He had risen to a rank that left no room for further promotions. Thus, Li Yuan created the unprecedented title of Heavenly Strategy General and bestowed it upon his son. This position placed him above all other princes, second only to Li Yuan and Crown Prince Li Jiancheng. The Qin prince's court was already full of talented individuals. Now, even more supporters gathered under him, forming the Qin prince's faction. It began to rival the Crown Prince's faction. When the empire was still unstable, Li Yuan had promised that if Li Shimin succeeded, he would be made Crown Prince. But now that peace was restored, and faced with Li Shimin's rising fame, Li Yuan hesitated. Crown Prince Li Jiancheng then allied with Prince Che, Li Yuanji, to suppress their younger brother. Li Yuan's indecision led to conflicting orders within the court, which unintentionally accelerated the brothers' conflict. Unwilling to back down, Li Shimin and his loyalists began plotting in secret at the Qin prince's residence. Thus, they orchestrated the famous Xuanwu Gate incident in history. One day, when Li Shimin was 28 years old, Venus appeared in the southern sky at noon, which was considered an ominous sign. According to the beliefs of the time, this was a symbol of political upheaval. It was seen as a precursor to a revolution or a change in leadership. Li Shimin accused Li Jiancheng and Li Yuanji of engaging in immoral relations with palace concubines and of planning to kill him. Upon learning this, Li Jiancheng decided to enter the inner palace to force their father to make a decision. However, the palace guards at the north gate of Zhou Gate had already been bribed by Li Shimin. In the end, both Li Jiancheng and Li Yuanji were killed at Zhou Gate. During the coup, Li Yuan was leisurely boating on the imperial lake within the palace. Li Shimin had soldiers from the palace enter to stand guard. They wore armor, holding long spears, and went directly to Li Yuan's boat. They informed Li Yuan that the Crown Prince and Prince Che had caused rebellion and been killed by Li Shimin. Li Yuan, realizing the situation could not be changed, decided to abdicate and pass the throne to Li Shimin. From then on, Li Shimin entered the fourth stage of his life, ushering in the Zhenguan era of governance. After ascending the throne, he led troops to defeat the Turks and swore an oath of alliance at the White Horse Ritual. He abolished all irrational rites and prayers. He appointed Li Chengqian as the Crown Prince of Zhongshan. He downgraded the titles of the imperial family's princes who had not earned merit to the rank of County Duke. He stopped accepting extravagant tributes from across the land. Politically, he favored simplicity and solemnity, bringing great joy to the people. From the age of 29 until his death at 51, Li Shimin continuously expanded the empire's territory. He was respected as the Heavenly Khan by 3 northwestern states. He issued new laws across the empire, ordering Fang Juanling and others to revise the codes, and had them implemented by the appropriate authorities. This marked the start of the Zhenguan era, laying the solid foundation for the Tang dynasty's golden age. However, in the year Li Shimin turned 45, Crown Prince Li Chengqian was deposed for plotting rebellion. Afterward, Li Zi was appointed as the new Crown Prince. In 649 AD, Li Shimin passed away at the Zhuanfeng Hall in Kuiwei Palace on Mount Zhongnan, at the age of 51.